Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's live reading from Ramayana, the story of Lord Ram, compiled by His Holiness Bhaktivikas Swami. So we were reading yesterday that Lord Ram with Sita, Lakshman and Hanuman had come to Dandakaranya forest from Chitrakoot forest. Actually, I think from Chitrakoot, sorry, not Chitrakoot forest. So we'll proceed from there onwards. Please listen as I relate a story in this connection. Once there was a rishi who performed such powerful austerities that King Indra became afraid of being overthrown. Like always is the case with King Indra, with a desire to obstruct Rishi's advancement, King Indra came before him in the guise of a warrior. King Indra handed the Brahmana a sword and requested, "Please keep this for me very carefully until I return." For the Rishi consented, and thereafter, remaining true to his vow, he always kept the sword with him, even when he went into the forest to collect roots and fruit. As a result, the Rishi's mind gradually became tinged with the desire for cruelty. He gradually gave up his execution of austerities in exchange for a life of violence. In this way, the Rishi became degraded and attained a hellish destination after death. Therefore, my husband, since the Brahmana was vanquished simply by the association of Indra's sword, I request that you keep your bow in hand only to kill the Rakshasas that are harassing the Rishis. Please do not kill even the innocent Rakshasas, what to speak of other creatures. Although I know it is not my position to instruct you, I pray that you give my words a careful thought. Afterwards, please do what you think is best. So these were Sita Devi's requesting words to Lord Ram, and which have a very beautiful message for all of us, that we should not associate with something which is not needed, because association with that object, even in this case a sword, got the desire of cruelty in that particular rishi with whom Indra had left his sword. So Sita Devi is requesting Lord Ram that please do only carry the bow when it is needed. Otherwise, don't carry it, because she says that don't even kill the innocent Rakshasas. Ram replied, "Dear Sita, I certainly appreciate your words, which are full of wisdom. I know that it is only because you love me that you have thus advised me, thinking only of my welfare. Unless one is dear, he is never given such a frank counsel. O daughter of Janak, the Rishis could easily kill the Rakshasas themselves. However, they do not do so, for it would diminish their stock of acquired ascetic merit. For this reason, I have promised to kill all the Rakshasas in the Dandakaranya forest. Even if I were to somehow renounce you or Lakshman, I could never give up a promise to the Brahmanas." Ram, Sita and Lakshman arrived at a large beautiful lake. As they drew near, they heard the sound of singing seeming to come from somewhere within the lake's waters. However, no one could be seen there. At that time, a rishi named Dharambhrita happened by, and Ram asked him about the mysterious singing. This lake, the rishi began, is known as Panchapsara and was originally created by sage Mandakarni with the mystic power. Once Mandakarni Rishi performed austerities on the shore of this lake for 10,000 years, subsisting only on air. The demigods became very fearful, thinking the rishi was desirous of occupying one of their posts. Thus they deputed 5 apsaras to divert Mandakarni from his austerities. The rishi became captivated by the women and married them all. After this, Rishi created a secret house within the water and retired there to reside with his wives. The sound you are hearing is the music of the Apsaras. Even today, they are constantly serving the Rishi who has regained his youth by utilizing his ascetic prowess. Ram, Sita, and Lakshman went on wandering from ashram to ashram within the Dandakaranya forest. They would stay at each hermitage for a week, a month, or longer, sometimes even a year. In this way, 10 years of Ram's exile passed comfortably and contentedly. So, this is a leap forward into the Ramayana now. Ram and Sita and Lakshman have passed 10 peaceful and contentful years in the Dandakaranya, going from one ashram to the other. After this time, the 3 wanderers returned to the hermitage of Sutikshna to reside. While one day conversing with Sutikshna, Ram said, I have heard that the great sage Agastya lives somewhere in Dandakaranya, but I could not find him within the vast forest. I would like to offer my respects to the Rishi and receive his blessings. Please direct me to his ashram. After taking directions from Sutikshna, Ram departed, accompanied by Sita and Lakshman. Then, as they came to the vicinity of Agastya Rishi's ashram, Ram narrated the following history. Once there were 2 Rakshas brothers named Vatapi and Ilvala. Ilvala would take the form of Brahman, and speaking in Sanskrit, he would invite some real Brahmanas to a memorial ceremony. Before the arrival of the Brahmanas, Ilvala would have Vatapi take the form of a ram. Then, after cooking, his brother Ilvala would feed him to the invited Brahmanas. When Vatapi thus entered the Brahmana's stomach, Ilvala would loudly call, "O my brother, please come out now." Being summoned, Vatapi would open the Brahmana's stomachs and come out, bleating like a ram. In this way, the 2 Rakshasas killed thousands of Brahmanas. So, you can see the Rakshasas or the demons, they were wreaking unimaginable havoc in the forest, so that they could just annoy the Brahmanas and the sages who were peacefully trying to meditate. As it was told that these sages were quite capable of annihilating these demons, but they didn't want to, because by doing so they would be spending the hard-earned, we can say, merits they were getting through the meditation and the tapasyas. Finally, at the request of demigod, Agastya Muni went there as an invited guest. Agastya ate Vatapi in the form of a ram, but then even Ilvala called for his brother. The Rishi informed him, "I have already digested Vatapi and sent him to the abode of Yamraj." When Ilvala heard this, he tried to attack Agastya in a fit of rage. However, the Rishi burnt him to ashes with his angry glance. Thereafter, because the Rakshasas feared Agastya Muni, his ashram remained free from attack. So the Rakshasas were living in fear of Agastya Muni, because Agastya Muni, he showed them his wrath. When Ram entered Agastya Rishi's ashram, sitting places were prepared and they were provided with a suitable welcome. After finishing their meal, Agastya presented Ram with the bow of Vishnu that had been constructed by Vishwakarma, along with 2 inexhaustible quivers from Lord Indra, an infallible arrow, and a gold inlaid sword from Lord Brahma. Then turning to Sita, Agastya praised her, saying, "You have earned eternal glory by voluntarily accepting such hardship for the sake of your husband. This is especially meritorious, since it has been the nature of women since the dawn of creation to love a man only for as long as he is prosperous." Thereafter, Rama asked Agastya to suggest a place for his residence. After some contemplation, the Rishi recommended he go to Panchavati. 16 miles from the banks of Godavari. So Godavari is in south of India, so we can understand that Lord Ram from Ayodhya in the north has come up to Godavari, flows through Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. I know that. So it is somewhere around there. The Panchvati forest must be. Agastya confided, I already know about your entire life by dint of yogic perception, which has been enhanced by my love for you. After leaving the Rishi's ashram, travelling on the way to Panchvati, Ram, Sita and Lakshman came upon Jatayu, the gigantic king of vultures. Thinking at first that he may be a Rakshas, Ram inquired about his identity. With mild words, Jatayu replied, My dear child, I was a good friend of your father. Long ago, Kashyap married 8 daughters of Daksha from Vinta. Aruna was born, and from Tamasa's Sieni took birth. I am the son of Aruna and his wife Sieni, and my name is Jatayu. My dear Ram, please accept me as your sincere servant, since there are many fierce Rakshasas inhabiting this forest. Whenever you and Lakshman leave your cottage, I will watch over Sita. Because of Jatayu's previous relationship with his father, Ram respectfully bowed to Jatayu. The Vulture King then accompanied them to Panchavati, keeping a watchful eye the entire time. Arriving at Panchavati, Ram selected a suitable site for building their cottage, saying, It will be good to make our residence at a site near a lake or river, for water and greenery together create the ideal scenic beauty. Ram selected a site near the banks of Godavari and an adjacent lake beautifully adorned with pink and blue lotuses. The land was flat, giving an unobstructed view of the entire sea. The cries of swans and waterfowl could be heard from the river, along with those of peacocks echoing from the caves of nearby hills. After building a suitable cottage there, they consecrated it with flower offerings, and Ram happily entered. Consecrated is to purify. As winter gradually set in, the morning sunshine became pleasing to the sense of touch. One morning, just after Ram and Lakshman had returned from bathing in the river and were conversing about their religious duties, a Rakshasi happened on the scene. Upon seeing Ram, her heart immediately became saturated with love. With his glowing dark greenish blue complexion and lotus petal eyes, Ram appeared to be the god of love himself in human form. The Rakshasi, however, had an extremely ugly face, a large protruding belly, withered breasts, deformed eyes, and copper-colored hair, whereas Ram's body was youthful and well-proportioned, muscular, and bearing all the signs of royalty. The Rakshasi's body was quite hideous and on the brink of middle age. Although she could change her form at will, she became so passionate upon seeing Ram and forgot to change her revolting appearance. She approached Ram and said, My dear handsome one, please tell me who you are and why you have come to forest. Dressed like a hermit, indeed you are dressed in the garb of an ascetic and are wearing matted locks of hair, yet you are wielding a bow and keeping a woman. Why have you come to this Rakshas-infested region? Please tell me who you are and I will fulfill all your desires. In reply, Ram briefly explained the incidents leading to his exile and then asked Rakshasi who she was. The love-stricken demoness replied, Hear the real truth, O lotus-eyed one. My name is Shurpnakha, the sister of Ravan and Kumkaran and Vibhishan, Khar and Bhushan. I live in the forest and strike fears into the hearts of all creatures. Although my brothers are powerful, I surpass them. I must frankly say I have become overwhelmed with love for you. My mind is made up to have you as my husband. Give up your ugly, deformed wife, because she is not worthy of a great hero like you. I am powerful and can travel at will. I am a suitable partner for you. First, though, I will devour the flat-bellied Sita and your brother Lakshman. Then we will be free to revel together in the hills and valleys of the beautiful Dandakaranya forest. As the Rakshasi looked upon him with love-filled eyes, Ram laughed heartily at her proposal, then jokingly said, I am already a married man, and certainly a young, beautiful girl like you could not tolerate living with co-wife. My brother, however, who is an ever greater hero than myself, is without a wife, therefore I suggest that you marry him. Shurpanakha took Ram's words seriously and left his side to face Lakshman. Saturated with lusty desires, she said, "My dear handsome hero, you are indeed even more powerful and attractive than your brother. Therefore, I consider you to be even more suitable for me. Make me your wife and we shall roam together through the forest, enjoying conjugal bliss." Lakshman smilingly replied, "O soft-skinned and lovely-limbed lady, you should know that I am simply the servant of my elder brother. If you were to marry me, it would mean that you would be no better than his maid servant. I think you should be better off by becoming Ram's second wife, for in time he will surely discard the aging and misshapen Sita and accept you alone. You have such a lovely face, always adorned with sweet smiles. Your ample breast, slender waist, and wide hips make a man forget all other women. Who could resist you? Marry Ram, and he will cast aside his ugly wife." Shurpanakha was too simple-minded to understand Ram and Lakshman were joking with her. She again turned to Ram, saying, "You are overly attached to ugly Sita. I will eat her up at once and forcibly take you as my husband." Saying this, she rushed at Sita. However, Ram checked her, telling Lakshman, "You should not joke with this Rakshasi in a way that endangers Sita, not disfigure her in a way that will teach her a lesson." Now we are reaching a turning point in Ramayana, which is going to define the turn of the events happening thereon. Upon Ram's order, Lakshman drew his sword, swiftly slicing off Shurpanakha's nose and ears. As his elder brother looked on, Shurpanakha screamed out in agony. Bleeding profusely, she fled into the forest and quickly went to Jansthana, where her brother Khar lived, along with many other Rakshasas. Frightened and smeared with blood, she threw herself at her brother's feet, weeping bitterly. Then Khar looked on her sister and coherently tried to explain what had happened. Seeing his sister's disfigurement, his heart became filled with horror and rage. Breathing like a trampled snake, Khar said, "Oh sister, please get up and calm yourself, compose yourself, so you can clearly tell me what has happened. Who has dared to injure you? Does he not realize that he has drunk poison by doing this? There is not a demigod, demon, Gandharva or Rishi who can harm you and escape with his life. Point out the culprit and I shall drink his blood with my sharp arrows." Now sobbing bitterly, Shurpanakha replied, "There are two brothers named Ram and Lakshman staying nearby in the Dandakaranya forest. I do not know whether they are demigods or demons. However, they have mutilated my face. I will only become satisfied after drinking their blood." Khar then called for 14 of the most powerful demons and sent them out with Shurpanakha to kill Ram, Lakshman and Sita. As the Rakshas approached, Ram was sitting in the cottage with Sita while Lakshman guarded the doorway. Seeing the hideous man-eaters, Ram ordered Lakshman, "Stay here with Sita while I fight with these Rakshasas." Ram then called out the Rakshas, "We have come to this forest at the request of the Rishis who seek our protection from your atrocities. We are living a life of austerity, eating only fruits and roots. Why have you come here to disturb us? Turn back now if you at all value your lives." So Lord Ram is Bhagwan, and Bhagwan does give a warning, and he has warned the Rakshas and their group that if they don't turn back, they will be killed. Surprised at being challenged so courageously, the Rakshas stared at Ram with blood-red eyes, saying, "Our master Khar is very angry with you and has ordered us to kill you. How can you hope to fight with so many of us? In a moment we shall crush you with our weapons and you will be dead." The Rakshasas rushed at Ram with uplifted weapons. However, with 14 arrows, Ram cut their weapons into pieces. With 14 more, he pierced their hearts. Thus, like trees whose trunks had been severed, the Rakshasas fell to the ground, dead, bathed in their own blood. Shaking with fear, Shurpanakha fled back to her brother's abode and informed him of the slaughter. "You tried to comfort me by sending those Rakshasas, but they have killed all the Rakshasas with ease. Now you must go yourself to kill them and get the revenge they have for what they have done to me. I will give up my life out of shame," she said. Saying that, Shurpanakha fell to the ground, overwhelmed with grief. Beating her belly, she burst into tears. Hearing the sister's harsh words, Kar became enraged. Uttering a vow, give up your sorrow, my sister. I promise to kill them this very day so that you may drink their blood. Hearing this, Shubnakha became somewhat pacified. Kar then ordered his brother Dushan to bring his chariot and weapons and to assemble the army of 14,000 Rakshasas. Then he mounted his chariot and departed for the Dandakaranya forest with the Rakshas army. As the Rakshasas proceeded, Kar's horse to fall down on the road and Rahu covered the sun, although not in an eclipse. All the while Kara's left arm trembled violently and his voice became hoarse and faint. Still, despite witnessing all these harbingers of evil, Kar laughed, saying, O Rakshasas, because of my great prowess, I do not care for any of these so-called inauspicious omens. Meanwhile, all the great demigods and rishis assembled in the sky to witness the impending battle. As the Rakshas approached, Ram described to Lakshman the auspicious signs he had perceived. My arrows are feeling joyful, my bow is stirring with delight, and my right arm is throbbing. My dear brother, take Sita at once to a mountain cave and watch over her carefully while I massacre these Rakshasas. After Lakshman and Sita had departed, Ram put on his suit of blazing golden armor. Then when the Rakshas advanced toward him while roaring ferociously, Ram summoned his all-devouring anger and assumed a dreadful form. The Rakshas army surrounded Ram. Kar released 1,000 arrows while other Rakshas showered innumerable weapons such as clubs, spears, swords and axes. Ram, however, easily cut those weapons to pieces with his arrows. Even though deeply cut and bleeding, he appeared not to feel any pain. Ram then released thousands of arrows towards Rakshasas, cutting off their bows, flags, shields, armors, and bodily limbs. Indeed, many of them fell to the ground dead, along with their elephants and horses, their chariots smashed to pieces. At that, the Rakshas became further enraged and countered by showering their weapons upon Ram in even greater profusion. Ram, however, again cut their weapons to pieces with his powers and killed many of them by piercing their hearts. He severed many of the grotesque heads from their gigantic trunks. Upon seeing this, the remaining Rakshasas fled in the fear to the shelter of Kar. In great anger, Dushan suddenly rushed at Ram. Many Rakshas followed him, encouraged by his valor. In this response, Ram took up the best of Gandhar weapons. Thus, from his bow came thousands of arrows, which soon covered the sun, engulfing the battle scene in the darkness. From those arrows, thousands of Rakshas were cut to pieces and their dismembered corpses collected in tall heaps. So we will leave our reading up to this point now, and we will continue from here onwards. So Lord Ram has started to massacre the demons already, and as we've read, all these are from the camp of Ravan. So Ravan's two brothers, one brother Kar has been already killed, and Dushan, he is trying his best. And let's see what's going to happen next. So 10 years, Lord Ram, Sita and Lakshman passed amicably in the forest, enjoying the forest life, enjoying visiting the rishis. But afterwards, after the 10 years, the last 4 years became difficult, and we have been reading how the real goal of Lord Ram's manifestation onto this earth has started to unfold itself now. Let us enjoy these pastimes in our small readings. I hope to join you again tomorrow. I wish you all a very happy day ahead. Please chant and be happy. Hare Krishna.